Hey there, this is Jeff Kamke. I'm a holistic, excuse me, one of the joys of live broadcasts. My name is Jeff Kamke, and I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner. Been doing this for about 4 years, and I love talking about a lot of great things. I like talking about holistic health. I like talking about natural health, about diet, about exercise, about relationships, and that's what tonight we're going to talk a little bit about. I have a quick story for you. A naturopath of ours turned me on to this concept, or me and my wife onto this concept a little while ago, of spirit animals. And this is something I'd never really been familiar with before. And when she was doing cranial sacral on my wife and I a while back, she said that different spirit animals would show up. And just an image of maybe an elephant or a caterpillar would pop into her mind. And there's different descriptions and characteristics and attributes of you at your current point in time that have to do with these different animals. And there's a book on it, a big thick book on spirit animals and different things. Kind of a new concept to me. And it was interesting because the snake had come up a couple times for my wife. And you're probably like most of us, we don't like snakes either. And it was kind of a nasty thought, but the description was to follow your instincts, to follow your intuition, follow your gut on wherever you're going and right at that moment in life. And there's usually something very applicable, very relevant to when a specific spirit animal shows up in your life, that there's a good lesson, there's a good correlation with whatever you're dealing with, maybe that day or that week in your life. So it was interesting. Probably about a week and a half ago on Facebook, I found a friend of mine that I've known since high school. Her and I, we never dated or anything, but we were good friends. And, I was kind of like her big brother. I always helped her through some of her difficult relationships and different things. And she had posted a picture of a snake that she had found when she was out raking leaves with her son. And I just happened to make a comment. I kind of felt my own intuition kind of kicked in and said, you should just say this. So I did. I just replied to it and said, hey, I've heard that when a snake shows up in your life, you need to follow your intuition. And she replied back, like I'd never heard that before, and, it's kind of creepy or whatever. And I replied back and said, just see if it applies right now in your life. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. She, immediately, instant messaged me on Facebook, popped it right up, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Because she's right now she I think is recently engaged, and apparently she's having some second guesses on that. And it was very interesting to me because the principle of following your intuition in a relationship, and one of the things that I talk about quite a bit is a perfect partner breakthrough. And this is something that is kind of a series of steps that I took after I had a relationship for about 5 years that didn't really go well, and there was a lot of arguing. We just weren't compatible. We weren't soulmates by any means. And when I ended that relationship, I wanted to find my perfect partner. I wanted to find my ideal mate, my soulmate, whatever label you would put on that. And I did some very specific things. So that's one of the things that I teach. And one of the very important things of having successful relationships, whether it's a love relationship or just relationships in general, or really just your life in general, if you follow your intuition, it's right. Some people say it's usually right. I think it's 100% right. Whether it is logical and it makes sense all the time that you should do a certain thing, and it might look like, well, I shouldn't do that. Well, you probably should, because it's going to lead you to a desired outcome that you have, even if it doesn't look like it. So anyway, back to relationships. Following your gut instincts. Now, when I first got into the relationship that I had 5 years ago, 7 years ago now, my gut told me don't do it, and I didn't listen to it. And that caused me 5 years of misery. And maybe not completely 5 full years of misery, but at least the last couple for sure were quite miserable. And if I would have followed my gut, I wouldn't have had to do that. So my friend that I had messaged about the snake showing up, and she should potentially, consider tuning into her intuition, obviously was pretty darn accurate. I'm glad I followed my intuition, and I was encouraging her to follow hers. And I gave her a little advice about some of the things that I'd went through, and that if you don't listen to your gut now, whatever the issues are that you're second guessing things, now's the time to correct that stuff. Either have the discussions or make the hard decision to maybe part ways and go a different direction. So it's one of those things that you can follow your gut, and you can live a happier life, or you can not follow your gut And sometimes that can be a long-lasting, difficult process to go through. I know it was for me when I didn't listen to my gut. It was on my mind for several years about, man, I wish I would have listened to my gut. And, fortunately for me, I didn't end up marrying that person or having kids with that person. And if you do, that can really add extra layers of guilt and regret and, kicking yourself. And if you're like me or hard on yourself, that can really go bad. So listen to your gut. Listen to your gut. If you're in a relationship, what is your gut telling you? Does it tell you that this is exactly what you're looking for? This is the perfect person for you? You want to raise your children the same way, you have the same religious beliefs, you have the same financial outlook, the way you want to spend money. Are all those key areas in line in the beginning? And if they aren't, you're having a gut check about it. Either have the discussion or consider making a change if that's what feels right for you. I am not here to tell you, but you follow your intuition. If it feels right to maybe end that relationship or take some time off from that relationship, that might be the best thing for you. So a little bit about intuition. Let's talk about that because it's not necessarily a skill everybody has. Women generally are more in tune. I know some men that are very in tune. I also know some men that are just completely out of tune with their intuition. And it's something I've been learning over several years once I learned what to do and what to look for and kind of learn some techniques to practice so that I could develop my intuition, because we all have the capability. It's just something we weren't necessarily born and taught to do. It's that sixth sense that you hear about, but you're really never taught about it. You're never really trained on how to use it or when to use it. It's just kind of a missing tool that we never use. It's in our toolbox. We just don't ever pull it out, and it's our most powerful tool, really. So let's talk a little bit about how you can identify what your intuition is saying, and is it really your gut or is it just your mind talking and playing tricks on you? How do you know the difference? Well, let's talk about that. And I'll give you a few things that you can use to practice so that you can start developing a heightened sense of intuition. So first off, to distinguish, if you're maybe in a relationship right now or there's other areas of your life that you're trying to read, what does my gut tell me? Well, your gut instinct is actually going to be located. Let me back up here a little bit, maybe even stand up a little bit here. When you have a gut feeling, you're actually going to feel it in your gut, in your solar plexus, down in this abdominal region. You're going to feel it there. Now, let's say you're going for something and you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe you think that you should do something. Notice where the thought comes from, because if you have a thought, the thought will not come from down here in your gut. Your thought, you'll actually physically feel the thought in your head, usually. So that's how you can distinguish between the two. You can ask yourself, am I having a gut feeling about this, whether to do it or not to do it? Ask, where did I just feel that feeling? Was it in my gut, or did it actually come from my head? Was it a thought? Because if it's a thought, a thought isn't connected to the gut. It can be something else. It can be, some people call it programs. Some people call it patterns of thought, habits, neural pathways, a lot of different terms for it in a sense of what's going on up here can actually deceive your gut intuition. There can be things that are counter up here to what you're truly reading or what your body's truly picking up through the gut instinct. So make sure you make that distinguishing, we want to say, figuring out where that feeling is coming from. Is it a thought that comes from up here, or is it a gut feeling that's actually from down here below the ribs, between the hips and the ribs, somewhere in there? You're going to feel a gut intuition in the solar plexus. So that's how you can determine the two. It takes practice. You're not going to get it right 100% of the time right off the bat, but that's a way that you can start tuning into your body and feeling when you should do something and when you shouldn't, and knowing whether it's a thought that's maybe not fully accurate and when it's your gut that is for sure accurate. And if it's your gut, if you're getting a yellow light about doing something, you can always ask, is there something else going on here? Is there a belief that I have that's maybe making me have a gut reaction when I shouldn't? Or is it truly something that I should, stay away from, or maybe it is to do it or to not do it, whatever your gut is telling you to do. So how do you practice it? If you're a guy here's a couple quick tips for guys, because I'm a guy. I can't necessarily speak to girls. I think you ladies out there, you're better at your intuition anyway. You have mothering instincts. You have that mommy radar that I'm learning about as my wife and I have had our first child here about 12 and a half weeks ago. So there's these built-in things that women have that men can develop. So here's a couple things you can use to develop it. This is what I was taught. This isn't my information. I'm ripping this off from somebody else, the mentors that I learned it from. So this is the way you can practice. The practicing way to determine, is it a gut feeling or not, is you can do a couple different things. One, you could use food. Think of a food you hate, and then think about it, and then where do you feel this like negative feeling about the food you don't like? Is it just a thought up here, or does it actually come from lower down here in the solar plexus region? Determine that, and then you can think about a food you love. What's your favorite food? Is it cheeseburgers? Is it pizza? Is it a particular kind of beer? What is it? What is it? And then do the same thing. Does it come from here, or does it come from here? And you can think about that, and you can practice that. You can do the same thing with sports teams. What's your favorite football team? Think about them. Is it the Cowboys, the Patriots? That's mine. It could be the Packers. What's your favorite football team? Think about it. How does it feel? Does it feel good? Where do you feel that excitement feeling, that emotional attachment to the football team? Is it here, or is it here? And then think about a team you hate. For me, I don't particularly care for a Rex Ryan coach team, so the Buffalo Bills or the New York Jets, because they used to be coached by him. I'm a Tom Brady fan, so I don't necessarily like Peyton Manning's team, the Denver Broncos or the Indianapolis Colts. Sorry for any fans of those teams that might be tuning in, but that's just my personal preference. So when you think about a team that you don't like, how does it make you feel? Does it give you a bad feeling here, or is it down here? Learn to tune into the difference. Learn how a good feeling down here feels when you think about a favorite food or your favorite sports team. And then learn the difference of when a negative feeling is down here when you think about a team you hate or a food you don't like. Learn to not only tell the difference between a thought and a feeling down here in the solar plexus, but learn the good and bad feelings in the solar plexus. That's really the key. So hopefully those are a couple good tips for you. And if you're a woman and you're trying to learn how to better tune into your intuition, maybe you do it sometimes but not all the time, try those techniques as well. Think about things you like, think about things you don't like. It's probably not sports or food, but think about maybe a certain type of clothing, or shoes, or a purse, or something like that, something that you can really get excited about, or that you're really turned off by, and learn to tune into the difference. That's definitely a good way you can do that. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And as it applies to your love relationships, if you're trying to find a perfect partner, learn to listen to your gut, because it is always right, and it can save you from a lot of misery, a whole lot of misery. So that's my thought for today. If you want to learn more about what I talk about here, I cover a lot of different topics around holistic health. I love to talk about personal development, law of attraction, natural health. Those are all topics that I kind of intermix from episode to episode. So if you want to learn more, though, look me up on Facebook, Life Enhancement Association. Life Enhancement Association. My website's lifeenhancementassociation.org. If you're tuning into this on maybe either on Facebook already or through YouTube, and you want to check me out live when I'm on Periscope, go to periscope.tv, I believe it is, and look for Jeffrey Kamke, Kamke, and hopefully you can tune in to me live and ask questions, be a little interactive with me here as I build my channel and share some of the great information that I learn, that I help my clients with, as I am an advanced holistic healthcare practitioner, and just the things that have really changed my life as I share those with other people, because hey, we all need a little help in some area of our life, and that's what I'm here to do, is to share some of that content that can hopefully help you improve your life, and tonight hopefully help you improve your relationships, or just however you use your gut instincts to improve that. So those are a couple of my thoughts for tonight, and we'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for tuning in.